Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today is day 14 of spoiler season for patch 3.19 and the Lake of Kalandra expansion. Today, we got one of those quality of life changes that I think a few people will really love and most players won't care about, and that is the widescreen UI getting a bit of work. If you play on an ultra widescreen, resolutions like 3360 by 1440, you'll be able to center the UI on your screen, which will be a lot better. Most players probably won't care about this because not many people do game on a screen like that, but for those of you that do, this is the fantastic news you have been waiting for a while. Otherwise, we got a new unique item teaser. Now, Grand Spectrum jewels exist in the game already. Now, these are quite rare unique jewels that have an increasing effect the more jewels that you have named Grand Spectrum. For this reason, these pretty much don't exist in solo self-found as far as I'm concerned. Some people will get them, but needing to get 3 of them in order for them to be of any real use is a pretty high bar to clear. There are some existing ones already, and these ones are 25% increased critical strike chance per Grand Spectrum on the Cobalt Jewel. The Crimson Jewel is 7% all elemental resistances per Grand Spectrum, and the Viridian Jewel, which is possibly the best of them, is 15% increased elemental damage per Grand Spectrum. So that one gives you 45% increased elemental damage, which is sort of okay, but nothing special. That's for each of the jewels that you've got socketed if you've got 3 of them. The new ones are pretty interesting though. The Crimson Jewel that is +1 minimum endurance charges per Grand Spectrum seems really interesting. A lot of players are speculating there will also be a Frenzy charge and a Power charge version of this. This is not yet confirmed. If those exist, they will be very strong, and I think you'll see a lot of people wanting to use one of each of those 3, just running around with 3 charges all the time. It's a pretty high investment. You give up 3 jewel slots for it, and this is at a time in the game where jewel slots are under a lot more pressure. There's a lot more really good unique jewels in the game, but this is something you could definitely use for a little while, especially if you got them with premium corruptions on them. One very important thing to say on the endurance charge situation here. If your minimum endurance charges exceed your maximum, the maximum dominates. So this means that if you were to socket 3 of this new Grand Spectrum, your minimum endurance charges will be 9, but unless you can actually raise your maximum endurance charges to at least 9, then you're just going to be running around with maximum endurance charges all the time. So broadly speaking, expect people to use only one of this jewel unless they're making serious investment into endurance charges, and if they're doing that, then they probably have other ways to generate them that are very reliable. The second one is Minion Critical Strike Multiplier, and if you've got 3 total Grand Spectrums, each of them that is this new Cobalt Jewel will provide 30% Minion Crit Multi. Now this is likely to be solid and potentially something you might even use 3 of if you are not currently using increased critical damage support. If you're using increased critical damage support, these two add additively, they're not multiplicative with each other, and that means that you might find that you could do better with your jewels. However, that's something to work out in Path of Building once we know a bit more about the rest of the minion itemization. It may be that we're able to get a fair amount of critical strike multiplier on other sources. Anyway, that's all we've got for today. This is a quiet day being a Sunday over in New Zealand, so may your Varlobs have interesting results, and I will see you around.